So the first thing we're going to distinguish is, because you might have noticed it's trends and fads, the difference between a trend and a fad. And here's the bottom line when it comes to that. Trends have a much longer lifespan than a fad. That doesn't mean that you should only get involved in trends and put fads aside. It just means that we go into it with our eyes wide open, our prioritization of time very clear, and our pocketbooks very strategized. Meaning, if you will invest in a fad, no matter what that would be, you understand that it'll probably have a nice big bang, but quite short, and then not anything afterwards. So that could be something that makes great sense for a special event, for a fundraiser, for something to try during a month or something like that, but not necessarily something that you will send a bunch of people on your staff to get detailed, expensive education training on and put it on a permanent schedule for months and months and months after that. That probably wouldn't make sense with a fad unless that fad is right in line with your brand. That said, it probably makes sense with a trend. So it's essentially the difference between the two and how they can influence our market in the long run. And I would say that, you know, depending on the brand that you influence, the business that you influence. If you are one single practitioner, maybe a fad would make sense because you're like, I'm totally cool doing this for a month and then saying, that's the thing after that, that's totally fine, I'm gonna go with that. Versus if you're the leader of a large chain of clubs and you need to communicate this to hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of people to be able to bring it in, launch it, have everybody understand what it is, sell the program, give all the analysis to your clients and actually have it get through the entire chain. So every single location that you have, then fads are definitely more along the special events type of range. And so that's essentially the difference between the two. And we'll dig into some of the ideas that you guys might have, the people that are joining us live today, as to what some of those trends and fads might be at time of this recording, which is end of 2019, as we start looking into 2020. So why does the difference matter? That's essentially what I just explained to you guys, is it's investment of time, money, consideration, etc. Understanding the difference between a trend and a fad is really critical for our success in business, and deciding what we're going to be doing with that. So let's get cooking a little bit in this. Let's get cooking means, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts when it comes to that. Are there anything that you guys see as being current trends versus fads in the fitness industry at this time? Is there something that you're like, I've been thinking about this and I'm actually saying I won't get involved in it because I definitely think that that's a fad? For example, you know, marijuana enhanced goat yoga. Put it out there. I'm Canadian. In Canada, that would actually be a perfectly legal program, but it's apparently, I've been told, it's all fun and games until the goat pees on you during Shavasana, and then you're like, I don't care what kind of a high I was on before this started, this wasn't so cool. So that's one to me that I would see perhaps more as a fad than a trend, and it could be a really fun event in a winery, in wine country, but perhaps not anything else.
I'll jump in real quick, Natalie. I think it's interesting, like the trend versus fads, how I think some trends, they start as fads? So even like wearables, for example, before all consumers were looking at wearables, it really, even in my own studio with my, with my clients, those who had the gizmos and everything tracking it, it almost felt like a fad at first. But then when you started seeing it being adopted in different ways and integrated in different ways, does it then become a trend? And that's, maybe it's those early adopters, who started the trend versus something that's just going to. So I'd say, technology, I think that's somewhere, technology and fitness can be a fad, but I think in general, is it more of a trend? We need to be looking at that.
Absolutely.
That might be general, but.
So that's a good point. And the good part about that statement, Lindsay, that I really like is it doesn't have as much to do with how many people are doing it. It more has to do with, does it make sense for you? Because even technology right now, I would say that the larger clubs or the chains or those kind of people are adopting technology within their clubs, and they're investing in, so if you think about the Orange Theories of the world, etc., they're investing in significant technology for their clubs. But if you have a small studio, the reality is the investment is very likely been made by your consumer, because we're all coming in with our own trackers. And so to me, for that might be a fad or it would have been maybe 5 years ago, but it was probably already a trend in regular people. And so there's a bit of an assessment if it's a trend out there, do I bring it into my opportunities, my business, my studio, etc., versus looking at it that way. Definitely once Silicon Valley's gone on board and figured it out, and everybody's kind of, adapting it in their own world and in their own daily life, and they're tracking I'll admit, on the days where I'm not going to get to the gym, I'm going to track my dog walks, because I'm like, I got to get my steps in somewhere. Something that's tippy. I got to count those in some way, shape, or form. So it would definitely be something that'd be utilized there. So it is long lasting. I would say every single bit of technology, maybe not, but tracking is definitely, and you'll see it in a bit, absolutely on the list of trends there.